One of the vegetables that are used most frequently is the onion, which is essential to many dishes. Despite their reputation for being challenging to cultivate, onions are an excellent crop for farmers to raise all over the world. Settle in to learn more about the best practices for growing onions. After establishing the ideal data, consider the climate, weather and temperature, soil quality, and where to grow onions. According to the needs of the crop and your soil, you must fertilize the field before planting onions. Early spring is when onions are planted, and summer through fall is when they are harvested. Whether you grow onions from seed or sets, a few gardening tips can mean the difference between a spectacular and a disappointing harvest. Watch how onions are planted, grown, and harvested. The next step is to cultivate vegetables and herbs, which is both easy and challenging. Onion sets are microscopic onions that take 14 weeks to mature. They are more likely to succeed than direct-sown seeds or transplants and can endure light freezes. When the onion sets reach maturity, they grow into full-sized bulbs and are available for purchase in gardening stores. When selecting onion sets, look for bulbs that are 3/4 of an inch in diameter or smaller. Larger bulbs often grow stiff necks and go to seed. Organic fertilizer is a terrific option for this. A better understanding of the crop's needs is necessary for effective care, which can guarantee an improved yield. Irrigation is necessary at the time of transplanting or dabbing of cloves, and light irrigation should be done on the 3rd day after planting. Subsequent irrigation will be done at 7 to 10-day intervals, depending upon the soil condition and season. Water the transplants immediately after planting. Because of their shallow root system, onions require frequent furrow irrigation. Avoid overhead irrigation, which causes foliage diseases. If the foliage has an unhealthy yellowish tint, the plants are over-irrigated. The soil will be overly dry around an underwatered crop and may crack. During the growth season, onions typically need 30 inches of irrigation, and as harvest time approaches, this requirement increases. The bulb of the onion won't grow very big if it doesn't get enough water. Onions should stop being watered and be allowed to dry out after their necks start to droop and they reach maturity. Irrigation should be done once every 3 days, utilizing drip and sprinkler systems. The operating pressure for the drip system is 1.5 kg per centimeter squared, and the operating pressure for a rotational micro sprinkler is 2.5 kg per centimeter squared. Nitrogen fertilizers should be used for fertigation by drip. Use a drip irrigation system to apply 50% N as a base dose and the remaining 50% in 7 intervals of 10 days up to 70 days after transplanting. For a healthy bulb output, the crop should be weed-free. Using one-handed weeding, pre-emergence applications of oxyfluorphan, GOL, at 0.15 to 0.25 kg AI per HA, fluclorilin, basilin at 1.0 kg per HA, or pendimethalin, STOMP, at 3.5 L per HA were found to be beneficial for transplanted onions in both the Kharif and Rabi seasons. The application of pendimethalin at 3 ml per liter shortly after sowing is proven to be the most effective at controlling weeds in onion nurseries and direct-seeded crops without affecting germination, seedling growth, or ultimate stand. Crop rotation is crucial to the process of growing onions. The ideal crop rotation for increasing soil fertility and financial returns is to plant soybeans in the Kharif season, followed by onions in the Rabi season. At 50% neckfall, onions should be harvested. When the onion bulbs are mature enough, proceed with harvesting them. While onion bulbs can be kept for around 6 months, this factor is significant for determining how long they should be preserved. Use caution at this time because it can occasionally be challenging for onion growers. After being properly sorted, the onions are finally taken from the field. The process of seeding comes first. It is quite practical to machine sow seeds after placing them in boxes. In addition, onion seedlings can be used to grow onions. Onions should be treated more like a jump crop than a root crop when planting. Put them in the ground no more than an inch deep. Onions can, of course, be grown from seed, and in some colder climates, it may even be necessary, zone 5 and colder. Before transplanting them in the garden, onions should be started inside approximately 6 weeks in advance, since they need the soil to be at least 50 degrees Fahrenheit to sprout. It is quite practical to machine sow seeds after placing them in boxes. Onion seedlings can be grown to produce vegetables. This is a compact, 4-row onion growing device. Use the machinery to grow onions in the field at a high rate of output. The harvest of onions typically takes 4 to 6 months due to their rapid growth. To increase production during harvest, machinery is used. How many onions are delivered to each area? With 2 inches between plants in a row, 24 inches between rows for giant sweet or Spanish onions, and 6 inches between plants within a plant, growers normally place 75,000 to 120,000 plants per area in a single roll. For the giant sweet or Spanish onion, there should be 2 inches between plants in a row, 24 inches between the rows, and 6 inches between plants within a plant. Onion seeds are first raised in nurseries, and 30 to 40 days later, the seedlings are moved to the fields. 3 to 4 kilograms of seeds are needed for an acre of land. More bulbs are produced when transplanted early. It's important to take precautions to avoid transplanting seedlings that are too young or too old. When performing a transplant, the following steps are taken. The top part of the seedling is roughly chopped off. For 2 hours, roots are submerged in a 0.1% carbendazim solution to prevent fungus. At a distance of 10 centimeters between plants, the seedlings are transferred into beds that have been prepared. When is the time of year when onions are grown? In the spring, plant onions, having in mind that they enjoy cool weather during the early phases of their growth, and whether they are produced as solely winter crops or not. Bearing in mind that we are currently in the winter season, onion often produces crops in colder climates and develops bulbs in warmer climates. Fertilizer with a nitrogen-based pop cap utilized aluminum sulfate lowers the pH levels of the soil. Aluminate works well for the curtains in acidic soil and should be planted as soon as the ground can be worked in the spring, which is typically in late March or early April. Onion should be planted as soon as the ground can be worked because this raises the outlet temperature to not very low, which translates to -6 degrees centigrade. Choose a location in full light where there won't be any other plants that will shadow your onions. The soil needs to be loose, well drained, and rich in nitrogen to provide the effective compacted soil. Before planting, onion plants dwell in some nitrogen fertilizer and onion seeds are hot. Onion plants are heavy feeders and require a moisturizer to generate a large bulb at planting time. When the still green tops of the onions begin to droop, the harvest is complete. Nonetheless, the field's irrigation is discontinued 10 to 15 days before. 30 days before, 1,000 ppm of carbendazim is sprayed on the crop. The crop shelf life is extended as a result. The bulbs are cleaned and dried for 4 days in the shade. After harvest, the bulbs are classified as A, more than 80 millimeters, B, 50 to 80 millimeters, and C, less than 80 millimeters, depending on their size. This is carried out both manually and mechanically in India. Onion bulbs harvested during the Rabi season often have a longer shelf life than those obtained during the Kharif season. Light red onion varieties have a higher preservation potential than dark red onion varieties. They are kept in wood baskets or jute sacks. They are also kept in netted bags. This is critical because onions release gas that, if not allowed to escape, may result in rotting. 30 to 35 degrees Celsius and 65 to 70% relative humidity are the ideal storage temperatures. The shelf life is extended by cold storage. 6 months of cold storage have been observed to result in a 5% crop loss. Nonetheless, injuries from freezing can occur at extremely low temperatures, less than -20 degrees Celsius. Rotting can be brought on by a high temperature. The prevention of microbial degradation is achieved by a steady drop in temperature. If we started with the freight seat, we should have finished sowing seeds on the go around 6 weeks before the start of planting season. When using onions as a crop rotation in the roping practice, planting onion seeds 4 to 5 inches apart can help the leaves retain moisture and become stiffer. The use of onions is widespread throughout the world. China and India are 2 of the top 10 producers of onions. The third is Page, followed by Belarus, Iran, the United States, Pakistan, Brazil, and Mexico. Onion cultivation is incredibly simple and profitable. It also requires very little capital to grow onions commercially. Onion plants require very little maintenance. At 6.5 to 7.5, onions grow best in fields. Temperatures between 13 and 24 degrees Celsius or 32 and 84 degrees Fahrenheit are considered to be an acceptable climate range. Certain nations have experienced annual shortages of onions in recent years, which has resulted in price increases. As a result, growing onions can be a highly lucrative agricultural industry. What do you think about the farming of onions? Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and comment below with your thoughts on this. Please enable the notification bell while you're there to ensure you receive all our upcoming videos. I hope you enjoyed the video. The next one is where we'll meet.